I can't believe I forgot to share with you one of the most exciting, cool, wonderful plants that I love in the sexual reproduction video. So, bonus sexual reproduction lesson, we're going to look at the Lamprocoptis Spectabilis. This beauty right here, the bleeding heart. This is not the bleeding heart that I drew. I drew Dicentra formosa. This is Lamprocopinus Spectabilis. It used to be called a Dicentra, but it's not anymore. It's different. But it's an amazing flower, and there are lots of cool things I wanted to show you about it. So as you can see, it has these heart-shaped, you might think that they're petals, but they are not, because how do we know they're not petals? There are two of them. And what did I tell you about petals? I told you that you never, ever, ever have two petals, right? Like that is not a number that plants use. They don't do two petals. I said if it's two of something, then it's probably a different part of the plant. And if you think about the parts of a flower, and if you remember when we learned about the petals and the sepals and the tepals and all that, so the Lamprocopinus is a eudicot, so it's going to have petals and sepals. And you know that right outside of the petals are going to be the sepals. And these, in fact, are big, beautiful pink sepals, right? There are two of them. They make little cute slippers. You can watch my Lamprocopinus Spectabilis bleeding heart story and watch me take it all apart and show you how you can make a little story out of that, out of the flower parts. That is the first thing that's really cool. And the other thing that's really cool is how this plant self-fertilizes itself. So if these are the sepals, then these are actually the petals, which is pretty crazy. Not like the petals of most of the flowers that you're looking at. So here you can see that they're showing you can see a little bit of the stamen coming down, the anther on the end of the filament. So let me just read to you really quickly about what's going on in this plant. Closed flower structure. The corollas of Lamprocopinus flowers are much smaller than those of its many relatives in the poppy family. They are also inconspicuous and may be colorless. They completely enclose the anthers and stigmas. Now the anthers, where the pollen is located on the male part, and the stigmas are the tip of the pistils, which is the female part. So sticky stigmas, female part that's attaching where the pollen gets attached. Anthers, where the pollen's coming from, which are so tightly packed together that they may touch. So they're in this tiny little case down there almost. And so they're just snugged right there together. They have to touch and give each other cooties. This makes it easy for pollen to be transferred within the flower, allowing self-pollinated seeds to develop. So the flower petals don't even have to open in order for this flower to be pollinated, which is just very cool. It takes a lot of energy for a plant to produce the color and nectar necessary to attract pollinators, and sometimes it's advantageous for a flower to fertilize itself. Self-pollination allows plants that grow in challenging conditions to preserve the traits that help them to succeed in those environments. It may also be the reason that small and sparse populations have survived. For many species, self-fertilization is a useful backup plan. So this over here, they're talking about the backup plan. So these violets have like two stages where they first try to pollinate with cross-pollination from other plants, and then they have another whole like going through making flowers where they are trying to be self-fertile. So within a season, they'll do both. And these two can do the same thing. So they have an opportunity, the bleeding hearts, to self-fertilize themselves, and then they can also open up and cross-pollinate. So both of those can do it both ways, but I just think that the bleeding hearts are so cool. I was really amazed when when I realized that those were sepals and not petals, and how the petals work at the bottom. It's really cool. So, bonus. Thanks, guys.